The Supreme Court this week upheld a Republican-backed congressional map in South Carolina. It was a split 6-3 decision that broke down across ideological lines, and the conservative majority on the Supreme Court concluded that partisan preferences rather than racial biases really kind of motivated the line drawing process pertaining to South Carolina's first congressional district. That district is home to Congresswoman Nancy Mace, and it was once a pretty competitive district that Democrats won in 2018. But during the most recent redistricting process, South Carolina Republicans had shifted about 30,000 black voters into the nearby 6th congressional district, which is home to Congressman Jim Clyburn. He is the sole Democrat in South Carolina's congressional delegation. So just to give some context about the impact of this, Mace had flipped that seat back to Republicans in 2020. She won that election by just over 1 percentage point. But when she ran for re-election in 2022, she won by double digits. So South Carolina Republicans really managed to fortify control over that seat through the redistricting process. The plaintiffs in this case, which included civil rights groups such as the NAACP as well as others, they made a pretty unique argument. Instead of leaning on the Voting Rights Act, they went straight to the Constitution and they argued that this is not equality under the law as guaranteed in the 14th Amendment. A federal district court panel had looked at this and they unanimously sided with the plaintiffs and rejected the Republican-backed map, sending them back to the drawing board. But conservative Justice Samuel Alito, who authored the majority opinion, reversed that decision, concluding again that this was drawn that way in South Carolina because of the pursuit of a partisan advantage rather than racial biases. And so this is very significant because of the precedent that sets for future redistricting cases. Every decade after the census is conducted, states across the country reevaluate their maps and they'll retool things to adjust for population changes. That's also an opportunity for political parties to try to gerrymander these congressional maps to try to eke out whatever partisan advantage they can get. If you look right now at the balance of power in the House of Representatives, it's split pretty evenly between Republicans and Democrats. Republicans barely have control over the lower chamber, and over recent elections, we haven't really been seeing a lot of big swings, in part because there's been so much gerrymandering, and that's really baked into the process. So because we don't see a lot of these big shifts, these small shifts can have a pretty outsized effect on the balance of power in the House. And so this is pretty important for those fights going forward.